Okay. Well, Miss Heath, why don't you begin talking a little bit about your parents? I understand your mother taught at Ackworth Elementary
Yes, she did.
before you did.
She did.
Why don't you talk about them and how they got to Ackworth and a little bit about that?
Well, my dad worked for U.S. Rubber, and he was sent to New York and worked in that office, and then he went to Passaic in New Jersey, and then I don't know what happened because I didn't, they don't talk to you, but he was looking for another job, and he went to interview at Lockheed.
Uh-huh.
So he came to, and then Mother started teaching. Down here, she taught in Tennessee, because I remember going to she taught in a one-room schoolhouse, and that was fascinating. So.
One-room schoolhouse, where was that?
It was outside of Shelbyville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And so it's 1962 that they came to.
Yes.
To Ackworth.
I have two sisters and a brother, and they all went to North Cobb. I didn't get to go to North Cobb, but they went to North Cobb.
Okay. Now, where were you growing up? Where did you go to high school?
Glen Rock, New Jersey.
Okay.
So
all your schooling was in the north.
So when you come down here and you don't know anybody, it's kind of hard to meet a lot of people when you're going right away going off to school.
Oh. Okay.
So
they got here in 62, and within a few months you left for college?
I was gone.
So they come here in the summertime?
I came in this. I'm a home person. I came back in the summertime.
But they were living in Ackworth?
Yes.
And so you didn't want to go to the University of Georgia, apparently.
I didn't even look at the University of Georgia. They had this route for me to do, and Mississippi was at the end, and so I don't know why I didn't look at Georgia. That would have been a good place to go.
But tell the story why you didn't go to school in Alabama.
Well, I didn't go to school in Alabama because Mother went to Alabama and Daddy went to Auburn, and it was kind of hard to choose those. And also, they were bigger schools, and Ole Miss was a smaller school, and I kind of liked that.
Okay. Well, it must have been difficult when Alabama and Auburn played a football game.
Oh, you just didn't say anything in my house.
So, 62 to 66, you were at University of Mississippi? And what did you major in?
Well, I went to major in sociology, but I ended up having three majors. I have English, psychology, and sociology. See, I didn't have any education courses. So it was when Mr. Hayes is the one that got me teaching here.
How did that happen?
Well, when Mr. Hayes thinks he has a good idea, you just sort of agree. Because I know he brought Butch here, and he probably brought a lot of people here. So, but he decided I would be a good teacher, and I kept saying, well, I don't have a teacher's license. And he says, no problem, no problem. So.
Now, was your mother still teaching at Ackworth?
Yeah, she was. She was.
So how was that you went to work the same place where your mother was teaching?
Well, that was okay because she was in another building from me, and since I didn't have any education background, she really helped me a lot.
What did she teach?
4th grade.
Okay. And that was in a different building than where the 1st grade
Yeah,
Okay. Was Fanny B. McClure still here?
Yeah, she was taught 1st grade.
And so you were both teaching 1st grade?
Yeah, but I started in 2nd grade.
Oh, I see.
So.
Okay. Well, talk about it a little bit. What was Ackworth Elementary like back then?
Well, it was really, we covered such a big area because all the other little schools weren't here. Baker and they weren't around, so we covered way across the 4-lane and way down that way. And so when you had children, you had them from a big area.
Right.
And there were a lot of children that were really poor. That I remember eating. We had to eat with our kids at lunch, and they would look at the food and they would say, "Do you want that roll?" I said, "Here." I gave away a lot of my food because some children were really hungry.
They couldn't afford the lunch.
They could eat the lunch, but they had nothing.
Oh, that's the only meal.
Yeah, I think.
So you gave them food to take home?
No, they ate it at lunch. They were so hungry. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then they started the breakfast program at Ackworth, and I guess in all of Cobb County, but that was a great thing.
When did that begin?
I don't really know, but it was maybe in the 70s, I don't know.
Okay.
But the kids could come and eat breakfast at school, and that helped their learning too.
Was there a means test for the children to qualify, or how did that work?
They filled out a form, and it was probably income, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well,
But I didn't handle that. I just
yeah, but you knew it made a difference for the
Yeah,
students when they had breakfast
Yeah.
first.
When we first started, when we collected the money, the teachers had to collect the money and take it over to the lunchroom, and you had to make sure all the dollar bills were faced the right way, and stuff like that.
So you collected from the students?
Yeah, their lunch money,
Yeah.
for the week, and then we'd take it over there, and they would get tickets, and but pretty soon they quit that, and they just did it with a lunch. The children had to go to the lunchroom and buy their ticket.
Okay. But you were counting the money and straightening the bills?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, talk a little bit about some of the people that you worked with at Ackworth Elementary.
Oh, one of the pictures I brought in was a picture of, I think it's 1996 class. All the teachers were there, Mr. Price, and it was just a great atmosphere, I think. And when when I first started teaching, everybody I taught with taught me something. So that was,
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit.
they were very helpful.
And what did you learn from your mother, for instance?
Oh, well, she taught me like how to do the attendance,
Yeah.
how to balance we had to balance the attendance books, and she taught me how to do that. And I don't know, just from watching her, I knew how to talk to the kids. Maybe, I don't know.
And her name was Jane?
Jane Singletary.
Singletary. And looks like an unusual spelling of Singletary.
I don't know where that came from, because a lot of people spell it A-R-Y, but Daddy's family was E-R-R-Y, so.
So you learned how to fill out the paperwork for your mother?
Yeah.
What about Fanny B. McClure? What did you learn from her?
Well, she taught first grade, and that was on the first floor. And so when I started, I was on the second floor. So I didn't see Miss Fanny B much, but I learned how to keep the kids in line. She would have them like this.
What about Mr. Hayes?
Mr. Hayes was quite a character, and I wonder how many people he made go into education, because he decided they would be good in education, because I was one of them. And
Well, I think Butch Price has a story similar to that.
yeah, he probably was one of them too. And Carolyn Jenkins, I think he brought them over here too. So, he brought a lot of people over that he thought would be good teachers. And he was probably right, because I was looking for a job in social work. I would have been an awful social worker. So I'm glad that he changed my mind. But then I had to go. I think I went to every school around here for courses for education. I went to West Georgia. Took correspondence course from Georgia. I went to Emory. Went to, so. But I finally got it. So.
Yeah.
And,
So you saw all the schools in the area. And it was, have been too early for Kennesaw by a long way.
yeah, yeah.
So you finally got your full teacher certificate.
Yeah, and then I went back to West Georgia for my master's.
Okay. What was that like?
Well, I wasn't really part of the campus, because I went with Joe Price, Butch's wife, and we would drive over there after school and come back. I think like maybe 2 nights, sometimes 2 nights a week, sometimes 1 night a week.
Yeah. It was a pretty small place too. wasn't
Yeah, it was. And they also had classes in different schools around here. They would offer education classes, and so sometimes you didn't have to go to the campus. You could go to maybe Rome or someplace in Douglasville. I remember going there for statistics. So, yeah.
What was it like working for Butch Price?
He's a great principal. He would walk the halls, and he would know what was going on. And then he would come and ask you a question, and you just keep talking like I'm talking right now. And he just keep looking at you, and finally you'd spill all the beans, because he just keep looking at you till you told him everything you wanted to know.
Okay. What about some of the kids that went through your classes?
Well, you know, when you teach first grade, they're so little, and I don't know. I just loved every one of them. Mm-hmm. Well, not every one of them, but most of them.
You loved them all, whether they deserved it or not.
Yeah, of course.
How did teaching change in your 30 years of teaching?
Well, when I first started teaching, you had filled your lesson plans out, but they were your lesson plans, and then later on you had to turn them in. Mm-hmm. And then after the county got so big, the county kind of took over the curriculum and everything, and so it kind of well, we couldn't do as much as as fun things. We had to be. It's more strict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kind of curriculum was it? You taught about everything, I guess, in the first grade.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when the county took over, you had to have 30 minutes of this, 40 minutes of this, and so you had to really be careful. Yeah. So all the fun things that we did, we couldn't really do anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, I would bet when you first started teaching, a lot of the kids hadn't been to kindergarten.
None of them had. So, well, that's not true. Some of them went to private kindergarten. Uh-huh. And so you had to teach them how to get in line.
So did it make a difference when kindergarten and preschool?
Oh, yeah. It's when they came into first grade then, they knew their letters, most of them, and they knew how to sit in a desk and how to sit and listen to a story. That's hard to teach sometimes. Mm-hmm. When you have some of the kids that get up and run around all the time.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the school system's gotten better or worse over the years, or it's about the same?
I'm sure it's better, but I think it was when it was more personal. When I first started teaching, we taught in little groups, and we could get around and do fun things. Like we made a rainforest out of when we were teaching rainforest, we made a rainforest out of the hall, and had breakfast when we were teaching nutrition, cooked breakfast. It was, I don't guess you can do stuff like that much anymore.
Probably not. Did you actually live in Ackworth while you were teaching?
Yeah, I did.
We'll talk about the community a little bit.
Well, when we first moved to Ackworth, there was one stoplight in the middle of town. And, when they say about if you blink, you miss it, that's probably about right. Mm-hmm. And then, and it was in the middle of town, and it used to be where Henry's is. There's a street that goes by. Well, that street used to go all the way across the tracks. Mm-hmm. And then they switched the stoplight to farther up. And I'm sure that's right, but I don't remember exactly when they did it, but it wasn't in the middle of town anymore. It was at the end of town. Mm-hmm. And then they built the overpass right there, and then the underpass down there, so that people on the other side, they were always so afraid if their children needed to go to the doctor or they needed something, they couldn't get there because the train was going. Mm-hmm. So.
Were you involved in the community at all?
We started a junior women's club, and did that for a long time, and that was fun. The younger women in town. Mm-hmm. I don't know that we did any good, but we got to know each other well. Yeah. So.
What was the purpose of the club?
I think it was supposed to be to benefit the city, but we just kind of visited.
Okay. Now, let's see. You were Miss Buxton back in the early days, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you get married while you were in college, or after?
No, after I left school, I got married, and I taught. First, when I taught, I was Miss Singletary.
I guess you were.
And then Miss Buxton, and then Miss Heath.
Okay. Okay. And you have one son along the way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And 2 grandchildren.
Uh-huh. When was your son born?
On 1970.
So while you were teaching?
Yeah. And back then, if you were pregnant, you couldn't teach.
Really?
Yeah, that's right. you had to quit teaching, and because I guess kids didn't know that babies were born like that. I don't know.
Well, that might have been
Also,
good.
when I first started teaching, you had to wear pants. I mean, you couldn't wear pants.
Couldn't wear pants.
You had to wear dress.
When did that change?
You know, I think maybe after I came, because I had to leave teaching, and then my son was born, and then I think or right around probably the 70s or something. Because when I came back, I don't remember, I could wear pants, but I don't remember when exactly they allowed us to.
How long did you leave teaching for? When your son was born, for just 1 year?
Yeah.
Took a leave of absence for you?
Well, I just had to quit. And then I'm trying to think. And then I came back. Mr. Hayes called me and said, "We have this position open for first grade. Do you want it?" And I said, yes. And so I guess my son was 3.
So 3 years then, at least 3 years.
Yeah.
You weren't teaching. So that's when you, in the 70s then, when you came back is when you started teaching first grade?
Yeah. That was a shock.
So I guess they didn't know as much as the second grade.
No.
Did they? Wow. And then how many years did you teach this time before you retired?
Well, I retired in 2001 or 2000, and so that's how long I taught first grade.
Or what have you been doing since you retired?
And my husband says, we're retired, we don't do anything. So,
Okay. We'll talk about Ackworth. How has Ackworth changed today from that kind of the one-horse town that
Yeah.
you remember when you first
well,
came
it's
here?
gotten so much bigger, and there's all these places. There wasn't any place to eat. I mean, if there was, I didn't know about it. But my husband says you couldn't even buy a pizza in Ackworth, and so because he's from New Jersey, and pizza is his favorite food. So,
How did you meet him?
you know, we were at a church together, and we met that way.
Okay. So, well, the town's certainly grown since over those years.
Yes, it has. I mean, I think when I first came here, it could have been called a one-stoplight town,
Yeah.
but it's gotten so much bigger now.
What kept you in Ackworth all those years?
My parents, I guess. You know, it's my home. So
Yeah, didn't think much about why you were staying?
no, we're a pretty close family, and I guess just didn't want to leave everybody.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm about out of questions.
I'm about out of words.
Anything that you would like to add that we haven't talked about?
I don't think so. I think Ackworth has grown for the better. You know, it used to be really nothing, and now it's everything. But it's always been a friendly town. You know, people were kind. I think that's the one thing I remember the most. Because when you come from New Jersey to a southern town, you're sort of an odd duck. So.